the church that's holy. Y'all know that, right? It ain't this building that's holy. We get wrapped up in that sometimes. The first time you find this idea about where you are is holy, Moses is standing out in the field with sheep. And God says, take your shoes off, because the place where you're standing is holy ground. I want to read one verse in a few minutes, but I want to talk about a fella in the Bible named Gideon. We celebrate Memorial Day. This is not Veterans Day. We're not celebrating just all the veterans. This is a very, very, very special day because we're celebrating those that paid the ultimate price for this to be the country that it is. So tomorrow, when you're off from work and you're cooking hot dogs, remember why you're cooking hot dogs. Because somebody died so you could. I want to read about a man named Gideon. Because Gideon had the same ideals and determination that a lot of these soldiers, men and women that gave their lives all over the world for you and I. Gideon was a man who was a leader, soldier. Did Gideon die? No. But Gideon was willing to. There were 4 armies that came against the children of Israel. And Gideon says, yeah, I'll go if you want me to go to the king. And he said, okay, get your men together. But Gideon was a God-fearing man. And he feared God and obeyed God. Gideon starts off, see that? 32,000 soldiers. I'd say you could whoop some folks with 32,000 soldiers, couldn't you? God says, nope, that's too many to Gideon. He says, everybody will think it's the soldiers that did it and not me. I want there to be no doubt who won this battle. So look what happens. Gideon goes down to the people and listen what he says. All these battle-hardened soldiers. He said, look here, fellas. If any of you scared, he was from southern Israel. He said, if any of you scared, I won't hold it against you. You can go back home. And evidently they was all family men because 10,000 of them is the new total. You know what that means? 22,000 soldiers left. He says, okay, Lord, I got 10,000. We're going to need your help. Guess what God tells Gideon? That's still too many. He said, go down and sit at the creek. When they get there, I want you to pick out the ones that stick their face in the water to drink water, put them over here. The ones that get it in their hand and slurp it out of their hand, put them over here. Here's the thing. 9,700 of those 10,000 stuck their face in. They just like fall on their hands and knees like a dog. That's what the Bible says. They lapped it up like a dog. And God says, I don't think I want them fellas. Look how many of them reached down with their hands and got the water. 300. He said, you're the ones God chose. Now we got to go whoop them. 4 armies. And just so you know the story, Gideon says we're splitting up in 3s. 100 of you go that way, 100 of you go that way. We're going to get right here. Take this trumpet. And I can imagine some of them guys. Ain't we got no guns? He says, no, take the trumpet. And take this pot with a candle in it. Light the candle. When I tell you to, break the pot with the candle in it and blow the trumpet. He waits till all the other armies is snoring. It's early in the morning, late at night, it's dark. Gideon gets them all up there and makes all this racket, begins to holler, blowing horns, breaking pots. Lights come on everywhere. And them other four armies, they must have been family men too, because they jumped up and grabbed their breeches and ran. And Gideon could have said, "We've whooped them." No, Gideon chases them. He's got 300 men. He chases them down. He goes to other towns on the way and says, "Hey, you got any soldiers? We got these guys on the run. We need to whoop them good, kick them out so they don't come back." And that's what happened. He was a soldier that loved and obeyed God. He was more afraid of God than he was the four armies. And he was also the kind of man that didn't worry about himself near as much as he worried about his people. So that they lifted up their heads no more, and the country was in quietness 40 years in the days of Gideon. Because Gideon picked the guys with manners that wasn't afraid. How do I handle the tough times? How can I listen to God and be faithful? I'm going to tell you how you can. You can either be a potato, an egg, or a coffee bean. What happens when you take a potato and put it in hot water? It gets soft, don't it? Because rough times, heat will make a tater squishy. You know what's wrong with the church? We're full of squishy taters. When the troubles come, we get soft. When problems happen in our life, we wind up getting soft. I love this country. I'm thankful for those that established it. I'm thankful for those that have kept it. But we all need to realize this country has gotten soft over the years. 250 years in, and we've gotten soft. Haven't we? We surely couldn't attack four armies with 300 men. Why? Because we've gotten soft. The rough times have made us, I'm going to say it, victims. Well, I had a bad childhood. Oh, man, grow up. You don't have a childhood now. You're a grown human being. Right? My daddy didn't love me. That's your daddy's problem. He's the one that missed out. Grow up. My mama never told me she loved me. Okay, your mama's a terrible human being. What does that matter to you? It's time you grow up and quit getting soft and say, look, I am responsible for my own life. Amen. I am who I am by the grace of God. Through His strength, through His direction, I won't be soft. I won't be a victim. I won't blame somebody else. I'm going to stand up and attack the enemy every time he comes against me. The next thing that happens is, what happens when you boil an egg? But if you take an egg and you put it, when you crack it, it's gushy. You like my vocabulary? You understand it though, don't you? It's gushy, it's liquidy. But if you don't crack it and you leave it together and you put it in boiling water, what happens? It gets hard. Most of the time, one or two things will happen when trouble comes. Either you'll get soft or you'll get hard. Hard's good. Hard's not good. Hard is not good, because hard takes away your ability to show compassion or empathy. Most people in church today that are trying to be Jesus to everybody, they're either soft and gushy or they're hard and unflexible. Neither one are presenting Jesus like we should. Jesus had compassion. Remember the woman that they were going to kill? Ye without sin, cast the first stone. They all run off. He looks at the woman, says, where are your accusers? She said, I don't have any. He says, I don't condemn you either. He said, just go and don't do what you've been doing anymore. That's all he said. Just go and quit doing that. Don't do that anymore. If it was the church, you know what we'd say? Oh, we need to get you in a program. You need to prove yourself to us. We need to know that you have, get off of it. What did you ever die for that made you in charge? We have no compassion anymore. We have no empathy anymore. There's a world around us that's dying without Jesus. Do you know what happens to any human being that dies without Jesus? Hell is their home. And it doesn't matter if it's your wife or your kids or your husband or your mama or your daddy. Without Jesus, hell is their home. There are no special cases. There are no God's going to look over it because I'm so-and-so's mama. Without Jesus, you're lost. The sad thing about that is, it seems to me like most of the church doesn't even care because we're doing nothing to show the compassion that Jesus brought to this world. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh to the Father except by me. Should I take my Bible and go through the world beating people over the head, or should I show them the love that Jesus had? That's what I should do. But we're hard. We can't be soft and we can't be rigid. Here's what we have to be, is a coffee bean. Because let me tell you what coffee does when you get it hot. If you boil coffee, they say you can take a whole bean and boil it and make coffee. You're wasting all the middle. That's why they grind it. Makes sense to me. Get all the flavor out of the inside, right? But if you grind up a coffee bean and put it in a pot and boil it, the coffee looks pretty much the same. The coffee grounds don't change, they just get wet. But the water changes. If you boil a potato, the water still looks like water. If you boil an egg, the water still looks like water. But if you boil a coffee bean, the water changes into something completely different. I'm going to tell you what's wrong with the whole world. Well, it's because the Democrats is this, or it's because the Republicans is that. No, it's not. It's because the church ain't changing the water it's getting boiled in. We're either getting soft or we're getting hard, but we ain't changing nothing. Church, if we would learn that when we go through the hard times, when we go through the fire, we come out on the other side having changed the world around us. I'm going to tell you what's wrong with the world today. You and me are not changing the water anymore. Ungodliness is rampant because we do nothing about it. There was an old poet, I used to know his name, that said, for evil to succeed, all it takes is for good men to do nothing. We like our church, don't we? We put our church clothes on to come to church on Sunday. And we sit here and we just preach to each other. We preach to the choir. Bless you. I'm going to pray for you. Bless your heart. Then we'll run over here and say, did you hear what went on over there? We're only worried about making a difference in here. Listen, there ain't much difference needs to be made in here. We come in here, we seldom talk to one another. We just come in here, listen to them sing, listen to me go on with nonsense, silliness. Mom says, this is church, not a comedy club. Wish I had a nickel for every time she said that. But I just pray every week that somebody leaves with something that I said that changes the water where they live. That's what we do in church. And on Monday, we do this much. The reason the world's in the shape it's in is because God's people are not changing the water. We put the coffee in the freezer and it'll stay a while. If you never get the coffee out and boil it, you ain't got no coffee. That's what's wrong with the world. We got freezers full of coffee bags, but nobody is changing the water. We're not changing the world that we live in. What have you done lately that changed somebody's view? What have you done lately that changed somebody's situation? What have you done lately that changed somebody's outlook? How do I do that? Sometimes you can hug them around the neck. You ever had a hug and you just said, I needed that? Somebody just come up and hug you. You just made the water change colors. You ever had somebody come to you, especially these younger folks? I don't know if this is still the way the world works, but I've said this and I'm going to keep saying it because it lets me know God's still on his throne. When my car sits in the parking lot at the church and it has no gas, and I have no idea how I'm going to get to work on Monday, and somebody just walks by and says, I feel led to give you this, $5. You say, well, $5 ain't going to change your world. If you can't make it to work, $5 will change your universe. That's how we change the water. Gideon changed the water when he took 300 men to conquer 4 armies. Well, I'm just one person. What can I do? You can change the water where you are. You can change the water where you are. We need to start changing the world we live in. Church, if we don't change it, someone else will change it the other direction. And that's what's happening around us. The enemy is changing the color of the water. Church is doing nothing. We need to be standing up. There's terrible things going on, and it's going to keep happening until the church stands up and says, we love everybody, but we hate sin. We need to call out all the sin and say the sin is wrong. The people we love. Jesus died for all of them. You want to know if you're changing the water where you are? I'm going to ask you a question. How much do you love Judas? How much do you love Judas? Don't tell me you love Jesus if you can't love Judas. Jesus loved Judas. If you're going to be like Jesus, you got to love Judas too. But Judas did wrong. Sure he did. What, are you so perfect you never have? I guarantee you sold somebody out. I guarantee you threw somebody under a bus sometime or another. I love you anyway. I won't love your sin, but I love you. Let's all stand this morning.